House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is announcing her plans to step down from party leadership. Remains in the chamber representing San Francisco, though. Now all eyes are on the open position of House Minority Leader. For more on who may fill the spot, let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman. Rick, a familiar name floating out there, Hakeem Jeffries.
Changing of the guard, for sure. And it feels like it's time, Akiko, doesn't it? So Nancy Pelosi is 82 years old. She's been extremely effective as House Speaker, and she's been historic as one of the most powerful women in Washington for a long time. But the Democrats are, they basically have decided it's time for a changing of the guard. So Hakeem Jeffries is going to come in. He's 52. He is also black, which will make him, assume he doesn't have the job yet, but he's running for it. He'll probably get it. It would make him the first black member of Congress to lead either party in either the House or the Senate. And he has a tough act to follow. One thing Nancy Pelosi has been extraordinarily good at is enforcing discipline among Democrats in the House. And it remains to be seen if Hakeem Jeffries will be able to do that. Now, he is not going to be House Speaker next year because Democrats lost control. He's going to be the House Minority Leader. So he's going to get a couple of years to practice, if you will, before Democrats retake control, whether that's in 2024, 2026, who knows. But we got out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, a changing of the guard, as you said, Rick. A shift to priorities over at the White House. The Biden administration announcing some changes to what has been a key priority, student debt relief. That program now potentially in jeopardy because it's been blocked by two specific judges. What more can you tell us about that?
So they're just going to have to wait and see what happens on that. The Supreme Court is probably going to end up settling this. And of course, there are millions of borrowers who are waiting to find out what happens here. And it could be a fairly lengthy wait. So in the meanwhile, the Biden administration just said yesterday that it is going to change the way it handles bankruptcy cases for people who apply to have student debt offloaded because they are declaring bankruptcy. Now, historically, this has been very hard to do. And this dates back to a law Congress passed about 20 years ago that Biden had a role in when he was a senator that was supposed to just make it very, very hard to get rid of student debt. And that was meant to protect American taxpayers who at the time secured that debt. And now all that debt is basically those loans are issued by the federal government itself. So the Biden administration, it says it's going to change its procedures and its approach when people do file in bankruptcy court to have these loans forgiven. Now, this remains to be seen. Two things at least. What will actually change in terms of what the Biden administration does? That's one thing. And this is like the other parts of what Biden's trying to do. This is going to get challenged in court. And this, too, could end up going to the Supreme Court. So this is going to be one of the biggest issues going forward of Biden's next 2 years, which is what in the heck is going to happen with student debt relief, because it's very unclear right now.
Meantime, Rick, we have seen the application for student debt relief being taken down on the website. We know the Biden administration has put out some numbers earlier this week talking about the impact of those who are really banking on this. I mean, what more do we know about that while we wait for what is expected to be the Supreme Court to take this up?
So the Biden administration, it's not as if they've closed the door and said, well, if you haven't applied for student debt relief yet, you're out of luck. All they've said is that we're just going to hold off on applications until we know what the court outcome is. And this is going to take a while. So this is now at the federal court level. I think there's an assumption that this will ultimately end up at the Supreme Court, but it's not clear if that would happen next year. It's not clear if the court might take it up on some kind of expedited basis because it's millions of people are waiting to find out what happens here. So it has immediate and far-reaching impact. And this is all beyond anything the Biden administration can do. All they can do is represent their side in court and ask for try to get this to the Supreme Court so there's an outcome.
Okay, we'll all be watching. Rick Newman, thanks so much for that.